Hello, everybody. Hopefully you're having a good eclipse day. Today is April 8th, and we're doing government and security stories to start your week.
Oh, wait a minute. It's not the 8th, is it?
Oh, it's the 9th.
That would be Monday. It's the 9th. I told you the wrong day. So the eclipse has already destroyed the world.
So yeah, they won't even see this episode. Yeah. Fantastic.
We'll do it anyway.
That sucks because it's going to be the best episode we've ever done.
On the, let's say, 0.001% chance that the world doesn't end on Monday, we'll go ahead and go through the motions today. And let's start with, I don't want to call this good news, maybe damage control.
I hate this kind of story because the headline is, the DHS is expected to stop buying access to your phone movements. And this sucks because we do this story a long time ago, and people are like, that's crazy. You guys are tinfoil hat. That's conspiracy theory. Why would they do that? And then this story comes out, and they're like, oh, yeah, you told us a long time ago that they were buying our phone movements. And it's like, no, you don't get to have it both ways.
So, yeah, they were doing it. And they got a lot of criticism for it. And now they're expected.
Yeah, I don't know what that word's doing a lot of heavy lifting in this headline.
Listen, you caught us harvesting kidneys, but gosh darn it, we really need those kidneys.
We're expected to stop, but we kind of want to keep going.
Yeah. I'm expected to not make bad food decisions after I leave here today. But in the past, I've made some. And we have a big new thing that's coming, and this is probably some election year stuff, and if everything turns out the way it's looking, it'll be undone 1 year from now.
Cable lobby vows, quote-unquote, years of litigation to avoid bans on blocking and throttling. What are they talking about? Net neutrality. And the headline, it's like, wait a minute, avoiding bans on blocking and throttling, like that's not banned right now? No. And in fact, that's, they say we don't need net neutrality because we're not doing blocking and throttling. Okay, then why did you just say that you would have years of litigation to stop them from blocking and throttling?
Here's the Orwellian statement that, really encompasses the whole argument.
The rule's unneeded because we already follow them.
Then why would you? That's kind of circular, isn't it?
That suggests that you're not following them, doesn't it?
Why is there a lock on this door? How do you know there's a lock on that door? And the FTC is also, once again, trying to help the poor consumers who are getting screwed, and there's not always an avenue of law enforcement that you can take this to.
The FTC is trying to help victims of impersonation scams get their money back. Because what has happened is a lot of terrible banks, which is almost all of them, when you are the victim of identity theft and you go to the bank says, no, look, you verified your identity, they had your PIN code, they had all the other stuff. And, yeah.
That's an important final point.
Well, we've all been through that, like the Kafka-esque struggle of like whatever they impose on you, only to be at the end. It's just like, yeah, we think that was you. We're not going to give you your money back.
Yeah. And that's the end of it. Who do you talk to after that? Because all law enforcement is going to go to the bank, and the bank's like, oh, we resolved that, and here's how. And they're like, oh, okay, it's closed. I don't want to spend any more time on this. So the FTC is apparently going to give you some kind of... Seems like it's only for the high-profile ones based on the examples they use there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And we all know that Microsoft has had some security lapses recently, some pretty severe ones, and some that involve the government who are happy to transplant that blame.
Scathing federal report rips Microsoft for shoddy security, insincerity in response to a Chinese hack. You read this and you don't realize what they're talking about immediately, so let us fill you in for that. We covered this a while ago. It was when the hack was just development systems only, and they didn't think a lot of serious stuff was compromised, and they probably didn't get access to the encryption keys. No, in fact, here we are 6 months later. Microsoft hasn't made it clear, but they were in a lot deeper than Microsoft initially let on, and they really did not let anybody know just how bad it was. This report makes clear it's pretty bad.
Perhaps the government should not be using Microsoft as a vendor anymore.
The best part of that, as you were speaking, was that in the background, I don't know if our mics picked it up, like there were steadily more and more sirens growing. Like at first it was just one in the distance, then it was...
It's not just you, it's your inner monologue playing that for you.
That was an analog of the Microsoft situation.
Yeah.
The sirens really escalated over time. Now, we know that in China, Apple has given the government whatever they want. If the Chinese Communist Party says, we demand this, Apple is like, yes, sir. What color would you like it in? But with the American government, Apple seems to take a very different approach, which is weird because they're an American company.
Jon Stewart claims Apple wouldn't let him interview the FTC chair on his podcast. This was really hilarious. Everybody should watch this.
This is a hot story this week.
Because it was interesting. She was coached or something because she was better on camera in this interview than she has ever been in front of a camera ever.
Was that part of the job? Like
part of the,
yeah.
well,
I mean, I say that, but I mean, look at us.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but it was something. It's like, wow, this person has reasonable positions on things.
Well, America's kind of broke, and the American people are kind of broke, and the government seems to think more spending is the way to deal with that. And when they don't get their way, they fight for it.
The White House is making a last-ditch push for internet subsidies, the internet subsidy program. This is according to the Reuters headline. We've covered that program specifically in the past. Basically, low-income folks can get internet access a little cheaper. The ISPs are paid directly. It turns out the ISPs haven't really, like, part of the promise of that was like, hey, we'll build out infrastructure so internet is cheaper in the first place. They never actually did that.
Well, that seems to be a pattern every time one of these things comes up.
Yeah.
And if you're going to bitch and moan and be like, well, you're against helping poor people, guess who the biggest advocates of this are? The ISPs.
The ISPs want the money, but they're going to take the money and not
run,
build out the infrastructure. But at the same time, the ISPs seem perfectly happy to let people that don't have internet continue to just not have internet.
Which is why we need competition.
There
should be a low budget provider.
Oh, that would be a cool subsidy program. It's like, we will give you the ISP $1, but we're also going to put $1 into a community broadband fund.
How about we're not going to give you $1. We're going to put $2 into a fund to destroy you.
A community broadband fund? Okay, I can get behind that.
Well, that's not what I was thinking of, but okay. And the federated social media stuff is out there. And of course, Meta is spearheading it, which tells you everything you need to know about it being free and federated. But now they have a new participant.
President Biden is now posting into the fediverse. The POTUS puts the Fed in fediverse. Theoretically, this means that you could have a mosaic of public square companies. Like imagine 50 Twitters that when you post something to your local version of Twitter, that it's federated across all versions of Twitter. It is a utopic vision, I would get. I mean, it's like if it would come to fruition that way.
Utopic?
I don't know.
Utopian.
I do like that, though. That's a good word.
I think you just coined that term.
Yeah.
Oh, we've already got one for it.
I was thinking of utopian topic, like it's a
utopic. New form idea. Copyright, you can't have it.
Well, I don't know that AI is utopian. It may be a little dystopian. Maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But thank God that we've got this brilliant woman to lead us on it.
VP Harris announces new requirements for how federal agencies will use AI technology, which includes not using it.
There's some requirements, but yes, as federal employees, you are not supposed to use. I guess OpenAI was already blocked, and now I think we have another story about Copilot.
Yeah, it's like don't let anybody look at this. Like don't ask it for help. Don't ask it for writing help. It's all going to the cloud. You can kind of run it locally, but make sure you have adult supervision when you're running it locally.
I mean, that's fair because we saw what happened with Samsung.
Yeah.
And of course, the EV revolution is in full swing. We're a couple of years into it at this point, and what does it look like? Well, we had pretty much every major car company come out in the past couple of weeks saying, oh, we're going to put a pause on that. And maybe a big reason for that is this failure.
Biden's $7.5 billion investment in EV charging has produced only 7 charging stations in 2 years.
Now, by my math, that's more than $1 billion per station. That seems high.
The commitments to build stations from the people that got the money are higher than that. They just haven't done anything yet. It's like a little microcosm of what's happened with ISPs.
How much do you think it costs to build a Buc-ee's, as big as those are?
Not $1 billion.
Yeah.
And they got 100 pumps. And they make beef jerky
and
in-house.
a bronze statue of Bucky the Beaver.
I bet if we put buggies in charge of the EV rollout,
That would
they'd
be
in
yeah,
every state.
flawless.
Yeah, and they'd have great bathrooms too. And oh yes, this is what we were alluding to earlier.
The Congress has banned staff use of Microsoft's AI Copilot. Turns out, so we looked at the terms of service, and anything that you talk to it about, it can be talking to Microsoft programmers about, and that's part of the deal.
Much like Europe not using Microsoft products, you can't turn off the telemetry. We all know that, right? No matter how hard you try to turn off Microsoft telemetry, you cannot do it, and the government has to be aware of that.
That's another one of those, oh, you guys are tinfoil hat conspiracy theories, and then later when it comes out that they were doing that the whole time, it's like, well, we knew the whole time. It's like, no.
But also begs the question, why are they using any Microsoft products?
Yeah. It's the year of the Linux desktop, finally.
Now, we all remember the Real Pages issue, which was, it was Real Pages, right? Was that the software that did the...
Backpage.
No, Backpage was the hooker site.
Yeah, yeah. What are you talking about?
And demonetized.
I'm talking about the one that landlords used to...
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name of it.
Was it not Real Pages?
Maybe it was. That sounds right.
Anyway, there was some software that landlords could use, and part of the software was like, hey, Bill over there also uses this software, and he charges this.
Craigslist was a victim of this because they were just like, we're going to nope out because we don't know if we're accidentally participating.
And it raised rent prices. It was proven to raise rent prices. So there were laws against it. You couldn't talk to anybody else. But maybe there was a slight variation on that that's still legal.
Algorithms can aid price collusion even if no humans actually talk to each other, U.S. enforcers say. And this is something that Lena Khan talked a little bit about in their Daily Show interview, because she said that, hey, algorithms can effectively control the prices in a way that a free and open market would not. And that's a problem. They're looking specifically at hotel prices like an Expedia.com and a Hotels.com. If there's 3 or 4 players in the market, they all really effectively control the pricing of hotels.
Now, they claim they never talked to each other about it. Probably a lie. But even if they didn't, the software probably would have settled on the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
So they're saying as long as you're all using it, it's effectively the same issue. And here's an interesting debate. I'm not sure where I stand on this. How much accessibility should you have from prison?
U.S. prison system proposes a total social media ban for inmates, sparking First Amendment concerns.
But you can send letters in prison and you get visitation, as I know from prison architects, because they get very upset if they can't have phone calls and letters.
They do have a lot of safeguards on that, though. Every one of those letters is read by someone else.
Yeah.
Now scanned and archived.
And every one of those phone calls has a disclaimer at the beginning of it. So you don't have those controls in social media. They're also talking about people maintaining a social media account via those routes. So you call your brother and he puts social media updates up. But they're arguing that that in itself is posting to social media, which is a little questionable.
What you're telling me is that there's a business opportunity here to make prison social media that's locked down and readable.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because they do have tablet services where you can send emails and stuff. I don't know if you can get on social media, but those are insanely expensive.
Right.
So it's like the prison food industry and the prison phone industry. That might be what they're angling toward. Metered data.
Well, I'm imagining just like a whole social media platform, but it's just for prisoners.
How much would a gigabyte?
For prisoners, by prisoners.
How much would a gigabyte of data cost you through a federal prison? $20?
Probably.
$1,000.
Yeah, something insane. At least 5 ramen packets.
You're not going to be watching a high-def video, that's for sure. And we've seen rules like this in Europe before, but I think this is the first time this has been breached in the good old US of A.
California introduces right to disconnect a bill that would allow employees to possibly relax. Basically, you don't have to answer emails or be on call after hours. This is very similar to a bill that we talked about last year or the year before, but it didn't pass.
It's interesting that we have a situation of existence where we're just expected to be
On call all the time.
tolling for a faceless, horrible enterprise all of our lives, so we need these protections. But I guess that's the basis of humanity, isn't it? And it seems like the basis of our government is to surveil us at all times, and you need to be constantly expanding that network.
Newsom announces a 480 license plate reader camera network in Oakland and East Bay for the freeways. But when asked why, it's like, what is the outcome that you would like to have from these cameras? The answers really weren't very good.
What I want is total top-down control. I mean, wait, did I say that out loud?
The best answer that they could come up with is that it would maybe give us insight into traffic patterns, but I've got news for you. You don't need a license plate reader to do that. You can do that with good old just...
Well, they admit,
Google Maps, hell.
They admit that the overwhelming amount of crime is probably driving this. He needs to be seen as being hard on crime, but I'm not sure this is the way to go about it because you don't have to be a criminal to fall under this. In fact, everybody will. And over in New York City, where they also have rampant crime and Orwellian surveillance state, they also have embraced AI. And they've learned what everybody else who's ever used AI already knew, and probably somebody told them before they embarked on this project.
New York City's government chatbot is lying about city laws and regulations. You can be evicted for not paying rent, despite what the My City chatbot says. That's so strange.
Chatbot was like, yeah, bro, just... You can't evict somebody for that. Of course you can't.
It seems like there should be a disclaimer. It's like, this is not legal advice. Also, New York. Did you guys see that they got hit by an earthquake?
Yeah.
I think it was fairly mild.
Yeah, it was literally like an hour before we started filming.
That's along the fault line, right?
No, that's
it's not?
That's what's weird about it.
Ooh.
It's not on the Mississippi fault line. It's like
No, I'm
way
talking
over
about
on
the
the
New
east coast.
Madrid.
No, the New Madrid doesn't go through New York as far as I know.
Does it have anything to do with the Taiwanese earthquake? Is it like on the opposite side of the planet?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it was like a 4.8, 4.8 maybe.
The hot
4.5.
conspiracy theory is that the eclipse is, I'm not sure what the mechanism is, but somehow the eclipse is going to trigger all those earthquakes. And the tornadoes apparently went through that same path.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is going on?
We had quite a few. Like, I was looking at the damage map, and it's literally like every county around us has got tornadoes last week.
Should we start working on the movie Quake-nado?
Ooh.
And New York City is also known as one of the worst places to drive. Very congested traffic, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people doing crazy things, which makes it very bold for this company to want to do this.
New York City will allow companies to test autonomous vehicles on its streets. Its streets filled with lots of very unpredictable things. Pedestrians, other vehicles.
Poor quality of the streets.
Poor quality of the streets. Street work. Garbage men. The New York City garbage men, they're something.
How does an autonomous vehicle deal with the squeegee guys?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess there'd be no point in doing it, but I'm sure some of them don't even pay attention to who's in the car. And New York has also, it's a very good illustration of the cable companies and their power and just how insidious they are.
Charter lobbyists have managed to sneak language into a New York State budget bill that's going to hamstring community broadband. Why? Because it says, if this area is already served, you can't get any money. But as this tech article points out, they lie about that. And we've covered so much.
Not only do they lie about it, they've been lying about it at this point for what, like 15, 20 years?
Yeah, and nothing bad happens.
Well, bad things happen. We keep giving them money. Nothing bad for them. So that's unfortunate.
Maybe this time
I'm sure
it'll work out.
You know what? You're right. We should be optimists, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure this time will be the one. And we have learned that the PFAs are in a lot of stuff, and then they probably shouldn't be, and they're probably bad for us over time. But one thing that you can't take them out of is our chips. So what are we going to do about that?
The US, EU, and et cetera are looking to use AI to look for alternative versions of those chemicals. It's like, okay, we really need this chemical for this reason, but it's really bad for everything except making chips. Are there any alternatives? And the AI says,
How are we sure that the AI, the next one it finds, isn't also bad for us?
Yeah.
Because we didn't know about PFAs for a long time, right?
Of all the things I've looked at, nothing says this is bad.
But you just made that. Yeah.
And how are we going to keep people safe from AI? Like AI that gives them illegal advice about rent and other things in New York City? Well, apparently we need to just hold hands with the rest of the world.
The AI Safety Commission, the US and the UK have signed a landmark agreement, and the agreement is, y'all go easy, okay? Yeah, we go easy. That's basically the text of the argument.
We're going to be solving our problems with the power of dance.
The agreement is, hey guys, we need a good press release. Does this look good to you? Okay, it looks good to us too. Oh, no, we're not going to actually do anything. Don't worry.
The thing that I love about AI is that Microsoft and Meta and even to an extent NVIDIA think that because they require hardware that few have access to at that scale to train, that they'll be able to maintain control of the AI, and that is so far from what is going to actually happen that it's amazing.
Now, let me give a public service announcement here. If you are someone who is like probably in your 30s or 40s, maybe even older than that, and I've heard of many cases where guys were in their 70s and got caught by this. If you are that person and you have like a mundane government job, nobody really respects you, the 20-something girl sending you nudes on Instagram, she's not real.
Girl, guy in real life.
Yeah, she's not real, and you really should not participate in that.
UK lawmaker admits passing colleagues' numbers to stranger met on a dating app.
There are no girls on the internet.
No.
So this stranger, was very friendly to him. So friendly that he was encouraged to send some nudes of his own, which he did. And then as soon as they got those, they began blackmailing. And instead of taking that to an authority, he chose to give in to their demands, which was the numbers of some of his colleagues, all of who got nudes and fell for them.
Wow.
Might not have been all of them, but it was several of them. What a dick move.
Literally.
But this is not a dick move. However, we've been doing this for quite some time. And I remember that Germany already went through this.
This is one of the first stories we ever covered.
They keep rotating back and forth. As power changes, those Microsoft lobbyists slide right in there and get the job done. How long will this one last? Engagement challenge.
German state moving 30,000 PCs to LibreOffice. Now, one of the different things that's happening here that will give you food for thought because it's not covered in this article. It's like German state, yeah, big deal. We've heard it before. LibreOffice is old architecture, old programming like it's built with a lot of tools that we didn't have before. We have this new AI thing. It is possible that we can use AI to actually make LibreOffice and Office alternatives actually very productive. Like we can take that old crufty code base that comes from like Sun Office from 40 years ago that really hasn't had the maintenance and love that it needs. We can use AI tools to bring that into the 21st century. That is promising.
Why are they doing this again? It's not just to save money, but they are understanding that, again, there's no way to turn off Microsoft telemetry. So you can't be, all these EU rules they have about not exfiltrating data, they just can't be confident that it won't happen if they use anything from Microsoft, which is hilarious.
And our hardware is getting good enough that you can run it, like, here's the code base for OpenOffice Writer. Let's make Writer better in this way. And then you can just ask the model questions, like where is this dialog box defined? And how might I change it the way that it renders or that it does double spacing? Or let's refactor this code to be a little bit more developer friendly. It can do all those things now, or we're close to being able to do that, I should say.
With just a few hallucinations.
Yeah, just a couple.
And if you're dreaming about World War III, that's not a hallucination. That's a big possibility.
It's more of a nightmare.
And we're kind of like poking every bear that we can and drawing battle lines with other countries.
Poking every bear. Japan, U.S., and Philippines to form a joint cyber defense network for when we're poking the bear that has a fondness for honey.
Well, this one's more about the dragon than the bear, I think.
Yeah.
But I think they might join forces if it comes down to it. So we all know that, if you run anything on the internet, you're going to see Chinese IPs coming at it, and everybody's like, yeah, let's work together on this.
See also Microsoft thing. See also like maybe the Havana thing too. That might be it's just
maybe all those leaders play PUBG together, and they're like, I'm tired of these Chinese cheaters.
I bet they use aimbots. Actually, there's no way Biden could play PUBG. You think Biden could do a first-person shooter?
I don't know if any of them could.
Oh man, we should use the face replacement thing and make that video. It's in the style of the other video where like the presidents are playing the first-person shooter.
There's one where they're playing Minecraft together, which is really funny because Trump takes all their diamonds.
Well, this is interesting because, as we mentioned before, whenever the Chinese Communist Party asks Apple for anything, they get it, and they get it without delay. But apparently, not enough manufacturing has moved to India yet to give Modi this level of power. He's going to have to do a lot more for them.
Apple won't unlock India Prime Minister's election opponent's iPhone. So this was a dude that was arrested And Apple has just stopped just short of saying, this looks like intimidation and coercion. We're not going to unlock the iPhone, which is incredible.
But why not just go to NSO?
Yeah.
It's so easy to unlock an iPhone.
Although you wonder if the U.S. State Department was already up in Apple's business after the Canadian assassination thing and saying, listen, if you get a request like this, you're going to have to let us know. Because I don't think that Apple has enough. I just don't think they're analyzing those requests to be like, should we do this? Unless someone is over their shoulder saying, if you get a request like this, you need to let us know because it's going to be an international incident.
But then it's an international company, so couldn't India claim that they have the same level of power?
Well, that's
as
what
the
they
American
did. Like
government?
India's request for that was perfectly legal. Like they went through all the legal channels and everything. It's just that you look at it, it's just guys.
But who are we to say that the Indian law is wrong and ours is right?
If we are right now, we are saying that. We're saying that this is not a reasonable request from India.
Well, Apple's saying that.
Yeah.
So as the business, they get to decide. I mean,
That's what I'm saying is I don't think they decided. I think that our government was already involved, and our government has already said, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, probably involved with Apple. Now, this was the big story last week. I only included this story. This was basically like the end of the story, so I will let you do the full walkthrough here.
New XZ backdoor scanner detects implant into any Linux binary. So we had a bit of a dust up this week. Someone who's been working for 2 years on open source projects introduced a kind of subtle, but not super subtle, backdoor in a compression library, which just so happens to connect into SSH, which is probably why they did that. They thought it would fly under the radar. It's not actually part of the SSH project. It's something that results because of crazy system architecture in a lot of distributions where SSH needs to log, and in order to log, you have to hook into systemd. And so this compression library is used by systemd. And so because of that, this contamination of the compression library means that we can infect SSH. And this has all the hallmarks of a state-sponsored action and blah, blah, blah. But it was caught by a dude at Microsoft that noticed that that's weird. SSH, after this version update, is 500 milliseconds slower than it used to be. Why?
It's so pedantic.
Yeah. But that's good. We need those kind of micro
I don't have
benchmarks.
time for this. So this story is talking about now we have a new security measure to try and prevent anything like this from happening, because the sad part is it was pretty comically easy to get this in to the supply chain, which is
An aspect of getting it into the supply chain was kind of a bumbling, like, I don't know, I'm just trying to write some unit tests to make this a little easier. So the backdoor came in via a test that was binary only, and it's like, why is this even here? Like, come on, it's just, I mean, it looks like somebody just being incompetent and stumbling around and then just sort of tolerating. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine.
And if you think that kind of horrible security hole is terrifying, well, they're everywhere. They're like potholes, and we don't always fill them in.
The feds finally decided to do something about the years-old SS7 spy holes in phone networks. This is here deliberately. Like, this article is written in such a way that it's like, this is just old legacy technology. No, this has to do with wiretapping. This is what this article completely misses. The wiretapping stuff is law enforcement needs an easy way to wiretap your phone. There's a legal mechanism to do that, but there also has to be a technical mechanism to do it as well. And there's a lot of analogs and parallels to this SS7 old analog phone network, cellular phone network. We're going to bolt it on. We need to be able to do wiretaps to like encrypted email and Signal and, those sorts of applications. So look at this as a modern cautionary tale, even though they're saying, wow, just everybody has access to SS7 now, because everybody will have access to backdoor encryption through iPhones and everything else.
Yeah, criminals, what percentage of criminals do you think are using wired phones at this point?
Yeah.
So it's
Very old criminals.
we can fix this at this point because we don't need it anymore. We have way more opportunities to spy on you with your smart devices. So, yeah, let's fix this now. And here's something that we cannot fix because this is the basis of all the power in our society. It is spying and advertising.
JPMorgan Chase is about to let advertisers target customers based on their spending in perhaps a more insidious banking version of there's a black box in your car that reports everything you do. There's a black box in your bank that reports everything you do.
In your pocket. Well, you've already got one. One in your front pocket, one in your back pocket now. Or your purse, perhaps. Do you carry your wallet in your purse or in your pocket?
Usually in my purse. I don't have my purse today, but
Because you got girl pockets. They have no uses.
well, I've got this jacket has pockets.
That's
But
true. You always wear a jacket, even in warm weather.
it's cold today though.
The feds are sleeping on counterfeiting at this point so much that it can only be deliberate to force people into cashless stuff because nobody wants to take anything over a $20 bill now.
Yeah, that's so transparent, and it makes me so angry.
That's actually so I'm getting ready to be on the trail, and I was texting my hostel. I think it was yesterday, and they're like, I asked them if I could do card or cash, and they're like, "Oh, we prefer cash." Like almost everyone I've talked to, like for the trail community, has been like, "We prefer cash."
Don't take 50s.
No, I'm gonna be taking small bills.
No one wants a 50, which is crazy because the $50 is not worth much anymore.
Well, we've seen AT&T. People have been screaming for weeks. It's like there's an AT&T leak, and AT&T was like, "No, I don't think so, man. We can't find anything." This one is a little bit old, but maybe this is what they were talking about. However, at some point, it did happen.
AT&T says personal data from 73 million current and former account holders, leaked onto the dark web. That includes your social security number, because of course it does. Of course it does.
I got a notification through my credit card that was like, "Hey, there's a dark web alert. Your information is in there," which has happened before. So it must have been this, but I'm trying to remember if I ever done business with AT&T.
Did your parents?
Oh, probably. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were using AT&T for their landline phones.
Yeah.
And AT&T was trying to get rid of them, but they didn't understand that. They were paying $170 a month for a landline phone. I was like, "What's wrong with you?"
AT&T is still really popular in Eastern Kentucky, which is weird because the service there isn't great.
They know. They don't care.
And the supply chain attacks, of course, we got the XZ thing and so many others that we've seen where a package that used to be trusted has been taken over.
XC was not supposed to be detected. That was supposed to be like the CCP's like backdoor into SSH.
But it happens
Probably.
constantly, and if you use any modern frameworks or anything like that, you see that big wall of things being installed, and you're like, "I don't know. I hope for the best." So it's become they have to do really, really drastic measures.
Oh, snap. Canonical is now doing manual reviews for new packages due to scam apps. Yet another thing to make people not like snaps. This is amazing.
Can you imagine being the person that has to sit there to do manual testing?
This is another piece of evidence that finally it's getting to be the year of the Linux desktop, is all the Linux app stores are infiltrated with crap. At least it's still better than the Microsoft store. There's less garbage in the Snap store than there is in the Microsoft
Is the bar
store.
just in hell? Like, it's better than Microsoft's. Well,
Well, who is in hell is the IT team at this Missouri county because they have had a rough week.
Missouri County declares state of emergency amid suspected ransomware attack.
they're probably not having a weekend.
They're
right
taking
now.
out a lot of city services.
There happened on election day, which makes you think that maybe that was the target, but somehow they didn't get the election part of the infrastructure. So
We should isolate that for security, and it's like,
And it seems like every week now we also get some eagle eye who finds some unacceptable terms of service and points them out, leading to an immediate reversal.
A vulture eye, if you will.
cloud server of host Vultr rips user data licensing clause from the terms of service amid quote-unquote confusion. So this was a clause in the terms of service that says, hey, anything you upload to this cloud hosting service we can use for training or whatever.
It's real open. They own everything. So some people pointed out, hey, I'm hosting data with you. Are you saying that you own everything there that I created? And they were like, no. Of course not. This is just for all of your tickets and support and billing and everything else that you do with us, which is bad enough. And this one hopefully is a little bit obvious. I'm guessing since this is a Fox News story, they're aiming this toward the older people.
The olds.
But it's good for everybody to remember.
Beware of encrypted PDFs as the latest trick to deliver malware to you. Okay, so this article's badly written and there is no good version of this article anywhere. The bottom line is that because PDFs support encryption and you can put a little bit of JavaScript code in a PDF, you can totally send somebody a PDF that an antivirus scanner can't scan until you unlock it, and it contains code that could trick you into downloading a file, running a program, whatever. They're not in and of themselves malicious, but they would coach you through completing steps that taken together would be malicious.
But the scam here specifically was, I send you an encrypted PDF, and I don't intend for you to ever get into it. And you're like, oh, hey, I can't get into it. What's wrong? And you're like, oh, no, you need this Adobe tool to unlock that.
It's not an Adobe tool.
Yeah, it's not an Adobe tool. It's a malware. Watch out for that one.
But they are using encryption to try to evade the antivirus detector, which is somewhat novel.
Now, this is an interesting one because this seems to be an embattled data company who has their own kinds of problems and needed good publicity. I'm not real sure what's going on here, but it's nice to have the information that we should have gotten a long time ago, but was hidden for some strange reason.
Jeffrey Epstein's island visitors exposed by a data broker.
So if you took your mobile phone over to Jeff's island, then they now know that you were there. And they've tracked many of those phones coming back to the U.S. to addresses in the U.S., so we know where they went.
That's weird because they kept telling us that data set didn't exist, and it turns out we've had that data for years and years and years and years and years, and a data broker, and you could just buy it if you knew who to ask to buy it. That's weird. That's so weird.
Seems like they went to a lot of influential neighborhoods.
That's so
Back
weird.
in the U.S.
Another reason not to trust an HOA.
One of them was Trump Tower. They couldn't wait to point that out. And this is a shocking and terrifying tale that just shows you that, sometimes there is no recourse. Sometimes you just get screwed, and at every level, the authority fails you.
Former University of Iowa hospital employee used fake identity for 35 years. Basically, this guy knew another guy, and they ran a hot dog stand together in California, and that guy moved to Washington and assumed the other guy's identity for some reason, ran up a bunch of credit card bills, but then actually became a competent IT administrator in a hospital. Meanwhile, the guy whose identity he took in California was like, wait a minute, there's accounts at this bank in my name? Like, what's going on here? Here's my ID, here's my social security number. The bank wouldn't give them access. They called the cops and said, this dude's got some amazing fake IDs. They were not fake, they were his. The judge had the dude committed to an asylum because obviously this person's crazy.
Because he kept insisting that he was somebody other than who they thought he was. They came up with an identity for him.
Yeah.
That's even more weird.
We know that this is you. And he was like, no, my name is. And they're like, all right, this guy's crazy.
Later, they thought, they contacted the guy in Washington, and the guy in Washington said, oh, that's this guy. But they gave him his identity. But it was a misspelling of that guy's name, the guy's real name. And so they thought that was the guy later, but it was a misspelling of his name.
That's a tangled web.
Yeah.
At that point, like, once you're committed, are you like, maybe I am insane. Maybe I'm just manufacturing these memories.
He stuck to his guns, and eventually somebody did a DNA test.
Yeah.
And was like, oh, this guy's not crazy.
The detective found the father, who was still alive, and they did a DNA test. But there was also an adoption in there in the mix, which made it another layer of crazy.
And the guy, the stealer,
the thief.
had a family and gave his kids the other guy's last name. Wild. And this is also wild because we just have no control, right? We have no autonomy as citizens anymore. Things happen, AI and people just make decisions, and we might not even be told about it.
ACA health insurance plans are being switched without enrollees okay. Apparently, if you're an insurance agent and you just want to make that sweet commission, all you got to know is somebody's name and birthday, and then you can just enroll them in whatever plan you want. And that's what's been happening.
And you get between, $25 and $35 every time you do that?
I'm okay with the death penalty for those insurance agents.
So there's really no way that you can protect yourself from that. Some states have their own portal. I think Kentucky is one of those. But if you're just using the national portal, there's no security. And it can move you, it can violate that income and tax requirement, which could get you fined. And then you might not know about that either, and then that could snowball.
The IRS will tell you. That's how one of the people in the article found out. Was the IRS was like, you owe money. And they're like, that's impossible. And then it was like, oh, I don't have any insurance. What's going on there?
All for $25.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all, folks. The best episode of all time on Eclipse Day, or after Eclipse Day. I don't think we cleared that up. All right.
Day after eclipse.
Day after Eclipse. I hope you find some good stuff in the rubble. Bye!